Alright. Sorry. You couldn't hear me at all for the last 5 minutes. It's alright though. I don't know what happened there. Okay, sorry. We're talking about Pierre. No, we're talking about the Trump announced a new trade. That's going to be a trade deal, a deal with Canada. Soon to be announced. We'll see the details of that. And then more news on Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives. Some more disgruntlement going on within the Conservative Party. And some other stuff. We'll see. Sorry. Alright. Let's just get to it. I don't know what's going on with my audio, but I think I fixed it. Next, the first post of the day. It's Dominion Society, so this is Mario Zelaya. He's really going at it with the Dominion Society. It's hilarious. He says he's making fun of their t-shirt. So this t-shirt, it's a picture of a guy with his rolling up his sleeves, and he's making fun of it, saying, rolling up sleeve, fist ready, Crisco oil ready, conference coming up, ready to welcome other men, top tier branding. So he's making fun of the t-shirt of Dominion, basically saying they're all gay guys going to get together for this convention in Hamilton. And yeah, he's a total subversive. Like, he's not even conservative. So basically what he does is he attacks anybody that's against immigration or is against protecting Canada. Because he's a shekel taker, I call him. He might sue me, but he only cares about if it's Muslims. He doesn't say anything about Indians or Africans. And he always says it's just the liberals. We got to just get rid of the liberals. So when a group wants to do something about the mass immigration problem, he attacks them. He attacks them worse than he attacks the left-wing lunatics. And he calls them the woke right, let's say. He'll call Dominion Society woke right. Just like Wyatt Claypool and all them. So, yeah. That's the Conservative Party right there. Mario. Their top influencer. Going after people who are, are against this disastrous immigration policy. He's the main guy. Like, he's putting all his energy against these guys. And he's supposed to be a conservative influencer. He's just butthurt because they said to deport him. Alright, next. Another chart. So, I don't know I'm trying to figure out what this spans. Mark Carney has brought 182,000 new permanent residents into Canada since the beginning of the year. About a quarter of them are from India, while no other country makes up more than 10% of new permanent residents. So this is so far this year. It could be the first 6 months of the year, but again, the disparity with India and the rest of the countries. Like, why are we giving so much? Why does India have such a higher percentage? Every year in, year out, and not just in the permanent residents, but all the visa categories. Like, look at that imbalance there. Like, they should have it so no country goes over 10% of permanent residents. It's ridiculous. All right. Next, I saw this meme. I thought it was funny. Tim Hortons 1996, and I do remember it. It was like that. They actually made the donuts in Tim Hortons. They had a baker. Not a warmer-upper, a baker. And then there's that picture we saw the other day of the Tim Hortons employee acting like he's in India. He could have went to his car and passed out. I don't know why he'd do that right in the middle of Tim Hortons. Next, this guy's hilarious. So we're talking about Alberta independence. This guy's like not even, he's for the Alberta independence. He's pro-independence, but he's not even, he's from Ukraine, and he's married to an Indian chick. So that's a weird combination. But anyway, he's saying don't be racist, Alberta. Racism could destroy Alberta independence. This has to stop. And then this guy's like, men like this are why Alberta independence is doomed to fail. I'm a foreigner married to a brown invader, and we think ethnic Canadians are racist. Let's see what he says here.
Supporting Alberta independence. And
so this guy's from Ukraine, but he's a separatist.
He's for people like that.
Maybe he should be in Ukraine fighting the Russians.
Hello, Alberta patriots. We have a problem for Alberta independence. Recently, someone during Mitch Sylvester's event came out and said a very racist remark towards Punjabi South Asian community. And as someone who is married to a South Asian lady and supports Alberta independence, I really condemn such behavior, regardless of where the person comes from, be it any other culture, any other ethnical background. Now, my wife is not from Punjab. India is a huge place, but she was originally born in India. And I do not appreciate and I condemn such behavior of anyone, regardless whether they are.
It's funny how anybody can come to Canada and just act like they.
Supporting Alberta.
I would never go to.
And especially in Alberta independence, we have no such place for people like
I would never.
In our movement. Because
our movement, like this guy's not even from Alberta. Like I would never go to another country, especially if I left my country from a war and another country took me in so I wouldn't have to fight. I would never get involved in their politics. I'd be like, I'll leave this up to you guys. Oh man, how this guy's got a lot of nerve. Like he's gonna lecture people in Alberta about being racist because he's got an Indian wife. It's like, you're lucky you're not in the, Zelensky hasn't dragged you off to the front lines. Like, you should just, like, it takes a lot of nerve. Igor Riltsev.
Racist argument is only used by dumb people, in my opinion, that do not have any other reasonable argument to state their opinion on certain matters by trying to demean other cultures and other people. And let me remind you that there are people from Punjab supporting Alberta independence. There are people from Philippines supporting Alberta independence. A lot of people from Eastern Europe, from China as well. We have people from all ethnical backgrounds and from all cultures supporting Alberta independence.
It's a diversity.
If you are, if you cannot do nothing with yourself and you are racist, let's say, you should keep it to yourself. We don't want to hear that. Talk to yourself, honestly. But I want to say something. It's really bad for Alberta independence because nobody even cares. I was even off track. I don't even know what exactly happened in the Alberta Constitution, what they presented, because that remark just threw me off. In fact, it threw me off from couple of days of not even publishing anything about Alberta, I even stopped publishing things on my social media for a couple of days. Maybe a week or so now. I'm like, seriously, I was so disappointed because the entire idea, not in an ideological way of Alberta independence, but the entire idea to make Alberta a better place to live, to make it more prosperous, to make it more sovereign, to make it more successful, is undermined by a single foolish comment and a stupid racist remark coming from a person who does not represent our movement. That's
Our
what I'm,
movement.
Disappointed
You should
with,
be in Ukraine.
and I want to
fighting.
tell you to think over it. Let me know what you think about this. Do you believe that such people should stay on the microphone or not? See you in next video.
Next video. Send him to Ukraine. All right. I just think it takes a lot of nerve to go to a different country and as a refugee and stick your nose in everybody's politics and be lecturing them on how, you didn't grow up there. Okay, next. A trash video. Surprise, surprise. I always say Indians will destroy every lake and river in Canada if given the chance. Okay. Every day I see videos on social media of Indians dumping trash all over Canada and the USA. One lady compiled a video of multiple Indian offenders dumping couches and bags of rubbish right on the road, throwing holy shit. This is a cultural problem. It's exactly why India looks like an open-air landfill. They don't even respect their own country. Why would they respect ours? Indians see a body of water and immediately think you must throw trash and human excrement into it. I've said that joke before. They have no civic sense, no respect for the environment, no respect for wildlife, and no respect for others. I'm not sure why anyone ever thought it was a good idea to import millions of street shitters and the biggest polluters on the planet into civilized Western nations. The cheap labor is not worth polluting the environment and natural resources in our countries. People do not magically change their behavior once they cross a new border. They don't leave their filthy actions behind. They just bring it with them. Canada has some of the most pristine rivers, lakes, and parks, but every day they are being disrespected and polluted by low IQ Browns who worship a monkey god. Send them all home. Those aren't my words, Mrs. B. But she's not wrong. So this one got caught throwing some garbage.
She just took her bag out.
I think this is in BC. But it's not like she's chasing her down, though.
You do realize how inappropriate that is to throw trash in the water like that.
I never sit there.
But you have been because we just watched you do it from across the lake. You dumped the entire dollar store bag over the bridge. I watched you do it. We have proof. Like that, you know how inappropriate, there's wildlife in this water.
The camera.
What? There's literally wildlife in this water and you're dumping
Don't
trash.
talk to me that way. Don't talk to me.
Okay.
Don't talk to me.
So shaming's not going to work because you got to have shame to be able to shame somebody. They have to have shame to be able to shame them.
And you're
Shaming doesn't
there's
work.
wildlife in this water and you're throwing trash in it. That's
We were watching
disgusting.
you. Not yours. Yeah, right.
You still have whatever's left in your dollar store bag. Are you gonna dump the rest of it too?
So and it's like, the problem is, it's not like you're trying to, like, yeah, it's a bag of trash, but it's the videos from India that you see of the trash rivers and the oceans and the beaches destroyed. So it's like, you got to say something now. You got to speak up now before it gets destroyed. What's the use? Because if it gets destroyed, what's the use saying something then? But now we're coming into Indian, some kind of idol season where they throw a bunch in the water. So I'm sure we'll see lots of videos of those coming up. I think it's early September is the date of this idol, whatever the hell it's called, immersion. They immerse the idols in the water. It's basically polluting the water. All right. Here's the thing on Donald Trump. Donald Trump pauses 50% tariffs on Canada for 3 days, saying both countries have agreed to a deal. The Great Keystone Pipeline, long ago killed by Sleepy Joe Biden, may be awoken from the grave. Thank you for attention to this matter. So, yeah, we'll see. I haven't really been talking about the tariffs because I'm a kind of a one-issue voter right now. And there's no use talking about tariffs or oil if you're like a third world country overrun by Indians, Africans, and Middle Eastern Muslims, or Muslims in general, but Middle East, Arabs, and Afghans who live in the Stone Age, What's the use of worrying about tariffs or anything if you're going to be a stranger in your own country? But, I knew they were going to come to some kind of deal. Hopefully it works out good for Canadian consumers. Maybe they will get lower milk and cheese. That would be good for the pizza business. All right, next. I like this. Be like Poland. Racist Poland. Tolerant UK. Yeah, they call Poland racist because they don't want these immigrants from like India and Pakistan and Middle East and Africa coming to Poland. So I don't think they care. I don't think they care about being called racist in Poland. I wonder what Hungary was supposed to be stopping them, but I haven't heard much about Hungary since they changed their president or prime minister. All right, there's more on Trump. We already read that. We'll see. This trade deal. All right, next. There's Dalai Lama. I seen this video a while ago, but it's funny because his immigration stance is like the same as mine. So me and the Dalai Lama are on the same page. He should be speaking at Dominion Society. He understands the situation in Canada better than the fake influencer, illegal immigrant Mario Zelaya, which is funny. They're both bald. So this reporter's trying to get the Dalai Lama to say how mass immigration is awesome. But Dalai Lama is like, no.
From Afghanistan, the Middle East, want to stay in Europe. Shouldn't they be allowed to?
Limited number, okay. But the whole Europe eventually become Muslim country, impossible. Or African country, also impossible.
There's nothing wrong with that, is there? I mean, you're a refugee yourself.
They themselves, I think, better to their own land, climatically. Much better. Europe too cold.
My parents moved from India to the UK. That's now their home. That's okay too, isn't it? If Indians or anyone else wants to live in Europe.
I think England, the small island, 90% become Indian. Then I don't know.
So yeah, Dalai Lama and me and the Dominion Society basically have the same immigration stance, which is hilarious. It's pretty funny. He's literally saying the exact same thing. Groups like the Dominion Society, not just the Dominion Society, but groups including them. Literally exactly what they're saying is what he just said. It's hilarious. And the reporter thought she's going to put her sob story out. Her parents are Indian. And, Dalai Lama is like, go back to India. All right. Now, speaking of Dominion Society, we got this guy, Aslam Rana, Member of Parliament for Hamilton Centre. So I guess he's he immigrated from Pakistan. This guy, and now he's an MP? How's that possible? My dad's been here. My parents were here 50 years. And the last thing they wanted to be was an MP. How the hell does this guy have an MP? Anyway, basically he's slandering Dominion Society, who haven't done anything illegal. Nothing illegal. Just, they don't like these people don't like the opinions of the Dominion Society. So a member of Parliament calls them white supremacist Dominion conference taking place in Hamilton. There's no place, he says, let me be absolutely clear, there's no place for hate and white supremacy in Hamilton. This includes, so basically he's slandering them all to hell, libel. And he's an MP. This is another reason why we shouldn't have any MPs born outside Canada. Let me be absolutely clear. There's no place for hate and white supremacy in Hamilton. This includes the white supremacist Dominion Conference being hosted in Hamilton by the Dominion Society of Canada. This conference and the organization hosting it, that residents have a fundamental right to feel safe in their homes, on the streets, and in their place of worship. Yeah, well, Dominion Society isn't going to their places of worship. Okay. Organizations and events like this only work to divide Canadians and seek to pit neighbor against neighbor. What a guy, man. This guy sounds like a commie. We've already seen white nationalist rallies taking place in our downtown, while attacks and hate-motivated incidents targeting religious communities and minorities have also been on the rise. Yeah, whatever. I also want to emphasize that the appropriate authorities have been contacted by my office and were already aware of the event and actively working on the issue and stand ready to provide assistance in case of any disruptions. Canada's national security agencies, including CSIS, continually assess emerging threats to ensure the early detection and disruption of individuals or networks moving towards violence against targeted groups to prevent radicalization. So basically what he's calling CSIS on them too. So Canada will always stand firmly against all forms of hate, intimidation, and violent extremism. And we will continue working to protect Canadians and our communities, yes. Flooding them with rapists. Additionally, all travelers seeking entry to Canada are subject to screening and examination. And in some cases, maybe. Okay. So they're talking about probably banning some of the speakers that they're planning to come. I wonder what party he's with. I wonder what party he's... He sounds like a liberal, but... This is horrible, though. Like some guy from Pakistan is going to come up and basically slander a bunch of young Canadians who, you know, don't like what's going on. So he's liberal, of course. Thought he might have been NDP, but yeah, this liberal Pakistan guy. So yeah, deported back to shithole Pakistan, where he belongs. So, you know, this is an MP of the government threatening to call CSIS and all the police on these young guys who, as far as I know, haven't committed any crime, but they've been slandered by an MP of the governing party. All right, next. I've been a little reading more about the women and how they've destroyed society, and I joke, it's like funny. You can't really say that. It's almost like saying the N-word. It's almost worse than saying the N-word. If you say women shouldn't be able to vote, it's bad. Like it's almost worse, I think, than the N-word. I think you can get away with the N-word now, but if you say women don't have the right to vote, shouldn't have the right to vote, they look at you like this pig, misogynist pig. Let's see what this guy says. Women didn't have the right to vote until 100 years ago. In just 100 years, their primary voting issue is to be able to unalive their own children. perhaps the 19th Amendment was a bad idea. 19th Amendment, that's I'm thinking the states, the constitutional amendment to allow women to vote. So yeah, he's not wrong. Like the last election with Kamala, she was trying to, that's all she ran on, is like, I'm going to make sure you can get all the abortions you want, right? And the media was like, yeah, we got to, it's so weird. Reproductive health, they call it. Fighting for women's reproductive health and rights. But yeah, that's their primary issue, is to kill babies, among other things. So I have to agree. I think probably women, why should they bother with all that politics? They could do other stuff. All right. Next. Ban immigration from India. Entitled Indian arrives at Pearson 90 minutes before his flight. Employee says he should have been on time. He leaves the counter but comes back to tell the whole white blonde lady she's racist. Then posts this rant on Instagram like a whiny idiot. So like, the reason I thought this video was interesting is because this is how they are, okay? Don't be fooled by, oh, they're nice. They brought me something over for the barbecue or whatever that I invited them to. Once they get to a certain amount, if the population, if hopefully it doesn't happen, we can stem that. But if it does, because, you know, there are 1.5 billion of them and they all want to get the hell out of there, but they will always they'll act like this all the time. They won't act the fake nice that you see now.
City and this country.
So he's mad at, because he screwed up his air flight.
Save your money and don't fly business class in Air Canada. My family had their flight booked from Toronto to Delhi, and we reached the airport 1.5 hours before the scheduled time to the signature business check-in. There was this white blonde lady at the gate, and I told her that this is the timing before the flight. Usually they help, and I was hoping she'll tell me maybe you're on time, you have enough time, or if there's something that she can do. Instead of anything, she checks her phone and she shows me the time and says, well, if you were so concerned, you should have been here on time. At that point I said, you're not very helpful, to which she responded, you're the one that came to me with attitude. I walked away because my family had a flight to catch, and so I saw them off and I came back to her. I asked her, what is your badge number?
So they didn't even miss the flight?
She replied, I am not entitled to tell you. And so this is my first person speech of what I said to her. You are a very racist person. If a white skinned person had asked the same question to you, you would never respond the way that you did to me. You need to reflect on what you've done here, especially at a business class that I've paid for.
He paid for the business
class. She started
class.
to talk about how she was born in the city, to which my response was, this city and this country was built by immigrants. Everybody here is an immigrant except
Everybody.
the indigenous First Nation people.
Except for the indigenous
Service
version.
begins as soon as you enter the airport. And it made me even more angry because it was my parents, it was my family, that if I wasn't there, they wouldn't have been treated right. They would have had to face the brunt of a racist white blonde lady. It's not okay if you're leaving against Indians or anybody. But if it starts showing up in public places, in places that matter, you better start speaking up.
No. Okay. Sorry. So, like I said, that's how they really are. This video, this is how they really are. He wanted to pull the power move because he paid the business class. And they didn't even miss their flight. He's making a big deal out of nothing. Okay, next. Here, we've seen this a lot lately too, is sexual assaults, especially in the GTA, and like not at 2, 3 in the morning after the bar, or in a dark alley. Like I'm talking like broad daylight, evening, early evening sexual assaults. So here's another one. This one's in Markham, but the other ones were different parts of the GTA. Suspects sought after 3 women were sexually assaulted in Markham in 1 week. The women in Canada, women and girls can't even walk around without having to worry about getting sexually assaulted, I guess. Like, that's the normal situation now. That's how it is in a third world country where you can't walk around. A woman can't walk around. Maybe that guy, that MP who's worried, he's more worried about Dominion Society instead of this. Police in New York region say they're searching for a suspect after 3 women were sexually assaulted within a week. All 3 assaults occurred between 6:30 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. in I don't know what part of Markham. In each incident, police said the suspect was riding a bicycle. The first incident occurred on August 10th. Suspect approached her and touched her for sexual purpose before fleeing. Second incident took place Friday before 7:30. Suspect rode past the victim before turning around, approaching her, and sexually assaulting her. He then fled the area. Third incident happened Monday. So this guy's like a serial rapist wannabe. Same area, police say the suspect sexually assaulted the victim while riding past her. Described the suspect as South Asian male with a medium complexion and straight medium-length black hair. Believed to be about 18 years old and was seen riding a bicycle that police say appeared to be too small for him. So yeah, this is what happens. Like, when you're bringing in all these single dudes from India, all these single dudes from Africa. Although the Africans, those guys seem to have like 10 kids, it seems. All these dudes from the Middle East. They don't treat, this is how they treat women. So, I don't know, it's not really a surprise. And like I read about this almost every day, every other day, there's a daytime sexual assault in like on the TTC and the Uber or in the park, wherever. The dog park, wherever. So it's like women and girls can't even walk out in broad daylight without the fear of being sexually assaulted. Because, you know, I know it's only a small amount, but the fear is there. Alright. Next. This is horrible. This is Canadian media, gay and retarded. This is the goy slop that boomers watch every night. Look at this. Watch this. It's hilarious.
Well, Sandy, one of the Canada's first ever WNBA team, the Toronto Tempo, is hosting the Indiana Fever tonight. But comments made by one of Fever's celebrity players is getting a lot of unwanted attention. CTV senior correspondent Heather Wright now with what's behind the off-court controversy. Hi, Heather.
Well, Sandy, one of the biggest games in Toronto Tempo history is taking place here tonight at Scotiabank Arena with the Indiana Fever in town and WNBA superstar Caitlin Clark playing her first game north of the border. Now, usually the Tempo play at Coca-Cola Coliseum, where there's a capacity of about 8,500 for basketball games. Tonight, they are playing here at Scotiabank with a sellout crowd expected of roughly 20,000 people. And that speaks in part to the popularity of Caitlin Clark, who is in the midst of another dominant season as the Fever look to lock up a playoff spot with a month still to go in the regular season. But despite all the excitement on the court, there has been a lot of focus on comments made by Fever guard Sophie Cunningham, who said biological men should not compete in girls' and women's sports. I want to protect young girls in a locker room or young girls in a sport who shouldn't have to go against biological men. Now, these comments have sparked both praise and a lot of criticism. Here's what one sport management professor told us this afternoon.
So basically,
there isn't a huge
comment saying men shouldn't play in women's sports. Apparently, it's controversial still in Canada.
number of trans women, just in general. Like, this is not a large population, and then there's not even less that are competing in sports. And so it is this, like, they are sort of fabricating, I think, this discourse to get people riled up around an issue that doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Those comments are a distraction, undermining the growing popularity of women's professional sport. Now, the Tempo, they have their work cut out for them tonight against the Fever as they try to snap a 10-game losing streak.
Yeah, like, I can't believe they actually did a news story about her saying that. Like, all she said was men shouldn't play in women's sports, and CTV News does a big glow up of it. I guess a summer slow news day. Next. Here's Mario Zelaya. Again, he's attacking the Dominion Society. And they did this funny video in response. I like this post made in Canada. Says the CBC policies are not reasonable. CPC's policies are not reasonable. So Mario's saying that Dominion Society are extremists. Their demands are unreasonable, and the Conservatives are the reasonable ones for change. And she's saying the CPC's policies are not reasonable. They are an advert part of the very core problem. It is one big club with the same final destination, whether you decide on the red car or the blue car. Millions of us do not support either party and want off this run. That's how I feel. I feel a lot like that. Let's see what she says here. So this is Mario.
Dominion comes in, they say these really tough words, they say brutal things, not only about myself, but to other conservatives, because we support those reasonable policies.
The Conservative Party.
Stopped the deportations.
We support those reasonable policies, and that's the problem with the Dominion Society.
So yeah, like, so Mario is like the biggest conservative, one of the biggest conservative influencers, but he's not an influencer. He's a shill. He basically shills for the Conservative Party. So by attacking the Dominion Society as this nationalist party, it's kind of like the Conservative Party it's like that's what the Conservative Party thinks of their base, basically, is they're just a bunch of white nationalists. All right, let's do a couple more here. I think a couple more. This is Canadian lakes now have been turned into full-blown outdoor Hindu pagan black magic film studios. Let's see this video. This is what we're importing into Canada. It's only going to get worse.
On this episode.
Okay. Next. And we're talking about Pierre. Not only is he down in the polls, he lost MPs. He's got supposedly MPs bitching about him, 19 MPs. But now he's got this really weird feud going on with Doug Ford's strategist, Nick Huvalis says he hates Pierre. Okay, that's fine. I don't think he's working for Ford right now, but Corey Tanecki, the other guy, he's totally trashing Pierre. So it's hilarious. And, you know, this is what I think Pierre's toast. Even after all his pandering, he's down 20 points in Canada's biggest province. He should have resigned when he lost the election in his own seat. Yeah, I thought he was going to resign when he lost his own seat, but he's still here. He is. But I want to find out with Corey Tanecki. And they're attacking Corey Tanecki, saying, but it's funny because I don't think he's the only one. It's not just Corey Tanecki, but the problem, like, if Pierre doesn't get along with any of these Ontario guys, like Corey Tanecki or Nick Voss or whoever, he's not going to win an election. Like, Ontario is the biggest province. So I think that's why it's significant. And it's not like, oh, Pierre's should, we need someone else. No, like, they actually hate him. That's funny. Here's it. Conservative Civil War. Lobbyist and Doug Ford advisor Corey Tanecki slams Pierre Poilievre as an asshole and calls him Skippy. He also said Pierre is the conservative Justin Trudeau. Suggests that some conservative MPs may have brain injuries. So yeah.
A lot of that is based on,
Let's see
we're
what he
in
says.
serious times. As sort of a semi-professional asshole. But, the only people who aren't very concerned about losing their seat in that caucus right now probably have some form of brain injury. But in fairness,
I can guess which ones.
yeah, well, there's always a few, right? Yeah, look, it's grim. It's grim, and it relates to some of the things that we were talking about earlier. It's really a leadership question, and when you look at best prime minister, 18% of people think that Poilievre would be the best prime minister, and it's like, I don't know, 56, 58, whatever it is for Carney. This is the crux of the problem. Is a huge differential in the popularity of these two leaders. I think a lot of that is based on, we're in serious times, and Poilievre isn't a serious person. Poilievre is conservative Justin Trudeau, and he compares very well to Justin Trudeau. He's sort of never had a real job, probably unemployable outside of politics. There's like a lot of, but very good at the soundbite and, is sort of a semi-professional asshole. But
what would it take to go full pro?
I think he's at least a full-time
He's
asshole.
trying. Look.
He may not be professional, but he's highly successful.
He's practiced.
Certainly putting in the hours.
But this is the thing with politics. It's, leadership is always a comparative endeavor. And it's, Poilievre versus Trudeau worked for Poilievre.
Yeah.
But it wasn't ever a love affair with Poilievre. It was a comparison between these two people. And now you're seeing a different comparison. The world has shifted. The issue sets have shifted. It's gone from, affordability and a lot of, like, I'd call them, inward-looking domestic economic issues to something that is much more existential, which is much more serious, more international. Skippy's resume doesn't hold up to the former, two-time central bank.
All right. So, I'm not saying like he's like the authority on everything, but what I'm saying is it clearly shows there's problems in the Conservative Party. There's going to be a lot more fighting coming down. So, we'll see if my prediction was right when I said Pierre isn't going to be around for the next election. He might be, but it's not looking good for him. The key, I think there's some by-elections at the end of the month, August 31st or something. So that's like next week, a couple weeks. There's like 3 by-elections, so I'm sure they'll be looking at that closely, the results. If they don't win any, it's not going to help Pierre's case. So it's kind of like a referendum on the leadership, these by-elections. So we'll see what the results of those are. And then finally, last one of the day. Pierre blames everything except mass migration. So he's in Prince Edward Island, and he does this all the time. This is really annoying. He goes around saying how the reason young Canadians can't afford a house is because of taxes and this and that. But he doesn't say about the millions of people that they let into the country who, and I see it here in Sarnia, like a lot of houses are taken up, a lot of rental spots are taken up by newcomers, right? Like housing stock, especially rental, is a very finite supply. So when you start digging into it from outside, like outside people start taking up the housing, it affects the price, especially in smaller cities, but even in Toronto. So, and then they also drive up the housing prices, like that for sale, like if you want to buy a house. But he doesn't blame. He says housing costs are absolutely out of control. The reason isn't carbon taxes or red tape, it's mass immigration. From 2020 to 2024, PEI's population grew more than the prior 20 years combined. So in a 4-year period, it grew more than in the previous 20. Let's see what Pierre says.
Costs are absolutely out of control.
Let's see him say something about immigration.
$1.80. What have the Liberals have given the island? They've given you $1.80 a liter gas, unaffordable groceries, and now housing costs are absolutely out of control. And that, in the entire history of Prince Edward Island, that has never been the case. Young people in this province have always been able to afford homes, and now it's absolutely impossible. So our mission is to make Prince Edward Island an affordable place to raise a family, buy a house, pay off a mortgage, buy groceries, have meat and potatoes or lobster on the dinner table every single night. And we are going to bring in the policies of low taxes, low inflation, and unblock the resources of this incredible place so that exciting, affordable future can happen.
So nothing about immigration. Nothing about immigration, as usual. He makes these announcements all the time, or he makes these speeches all the time. And he says, we need to build houses, and we need to cut red tape and build houses. Doesn't say anything about immigration. He was saying it for about 5 minutes a few months ago. But now he's back to the regular shtick. So we'll see how long Pierre's sticks around. But he's a weird guy because the left-wing people hate him because they think he's like Trump. But the right-wing nationalists hate him. Like, I can't stand him because they think he's too liberal. So it's weird. Like, nobody thinks you're real. Like I don't know, like, when you stand for nothing, everybody hates you, I guess. That's the point. Like, when he's just running based on what polls tell him, I guess. I don't know. On what the centrist voters want. So, he ain't fixing Canada, this guy. So, that's it for today. We'll come back tomorrow and see what happens. See what news comes out tomorrow. Sorry about the audio BS. I'm still trying to figure this stuff out. Until then, have a nice night.